started to get organized like a couple months ago. I'm Amy, this is Jackie. We both have kids at Thoreau Elementary, and then I have a 5th grade graduate who's going to be at Cherokee next year. We started this Parent Check on Tech group, not because we are anti-tech, we are pro-learning and pro-healthy child development. We have been advocating within MMSD for stronger cell phone policy, just an evaluation of the technology that's being used right now, and then also looking at like state level and community level, just sharing screen guidance tips and just advocacy opportunities for things that you can do to help our kids develop healthy relationships with technology. So that's my spiel. Dana is our AI expert. She ran for school board in the last election. She is super involved politically in Madison, and she is a technology professional. Thank you. Sure. Okay, great.
All right, so last time we talked a lot about current issues and realities facing our children and students in the district. Now we're going to be talking about what's coming up. So next slide. So not everybody is as into AI as I am and is reading all of these articles and is just inhaling everything because there's a new article, there's new podcasts, there's new books coming out every day. And so I wanted to do a little bit of level setting in terms of what kids may see or use. There is a lot of conversation we can have about AI in general, but specifically we're going to be talking about kids today. So I wanted to share about a couple of the most common ones that kids are using, but there is AI in almost anything that has to do with technology right now. So we'll start off with the two most kind of common ones that you'll be seeing. There is conversational and companion type AI, and then the other is generative AI or Gen AI. So the definitions kind of overlap, but with the companion AI or the kind of chatbot, you're interacting one-on-one, you're asking it questions, it's coming back to you and kind of having a conversation. Whereas with generative AI, you're creating things. So you could create images or text or music I've seen or artwork. Although the definition of whether or not you're actually creating it is a little loose. Most of us are really common with the generative AI. So ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Grok, those are pretty ubiquitous. These ones over here, the Character AI, Replica, and Nomi AI are specifically targeted towards children. They're more of the companion type AI, basically replacing friends. So you have an AI friend. So wanted you to make sure that you saw those icons in case you saw them on any of your kids' devices and you kind of knew what they are. The other thing that just came up actually like right after our last meeting is that Google search changed right at the end of May. So I had to quick add this to our deck here. And it's a pretty huge shift for everyone, but specifically with kids because the phrase Google it is so prevalent in our society. And that has changed. So what used to be a search tool that would search through indexes on the internet, through all of the sources that are available, are now going to be pulled together into an AI summary based on however they're coding it to provide that summary to you. So what it's doing is removing the ability to search for your own sources, and it can potentially eliminate lesser known sources or, potentially like, not immigrants, minority creators or any kind of bias that the AI creator has put into their system and feeds it to you in a nice little bow. So this is a big one that I think is going to affect kids immediately, because not everybody knows that this change happened. It just went through all of our phones, updated. Everybody has this now, and so this is going to start really infiltrating and becoming an issue. So now that we've done some level setting, I want to talk through some of the concerns with using AI with children. And so we're going to start with basically cognitive decline. So a lot of the AI is basically kind of putting everything together for you, and in certain instances might be doing some of the thinking for you, and that's what we want to be really careful about avoiding. The first thing that I saw with AI that concerned me is the AI hallucinations. That is where a generative AI tool may create something that doesn't exist, or it may reference something that doesn't exist. I have even seen it pull up a list of resources that do not exist, or state a fact that is completely incorrect. And so if we're not careful and checking these sources and validating them, we could be sharing incorrect information. There's actually some really local and recent examples of this happening in our state government. We had, I want to say it was earlier this year, someone submitted a budget proposal or a grant proposal to our city council for a health organization, and there was hallucinated information in it. It said that the board of this organization had BIPOC members, and they absolutely did not. And it had gone through a committee before it ever got through to someone who actually went and checked the website and found that it didn't exist. So that is something that happened here in Madison in the last 6 months. And so this is something we need to be really careful about, but particularly now with the Google search, is making sure that you're checking to see that these things are real and accurate. The other thing that I think, especially with growing minds, that's going to become an issue is that they are not going to be developing their own voice if they're using something like a generative AI, like ChatGPT, to write their papers or write books for them. They're not going to be able to develop their own voice about what they feel about things and how they approach different issues in their life, and they're outsourcing it to someone else. They're also not learning how to support their positions with their own facts. So that is something else that we need to be careful with. One that I've been hearing from students and children that they're actually picking up on is this lack of creativity, and the discussion about whether or not things that are created by AI are actually art or belong to that creator, or do they belong to the person who originated that piece of art. Because that's all AI is taking all of the data and all of the things that already exist and putting them together in a different way. So they are not creating anything that's brand new. They are taking other people's work and putting it in new and different ways. So it can contribute to a lack of creativity in our students and our children. And what we were talking about earlier is, what is that going to look like for the next generation of researchers and technical innovation and medical research if they have dulled that sense of wonder and that sense of curiosity about, I need to know this thing, and there isn't anything out there that tells me about that thing, so I guess I'm just gonna keep going. And we really want to encourage students to build that kind of resilience muscle of like, I don't know this, but I'm gonna find it out. We don't wanna package it up for them in a pretty bow. We want them to spend the time to learn. And then the final thing is, we are starting to see it contribute to lowering levels of IQ. This quote here is from Jared Cooney Horvath, who wrote The Digital Delusion, and he also testified before Congress in January about cognitive decline. His statement's really more about technology at large, but the decline in literacy, numeracy, problem solving, general cognitive performance, those are all things that will undoubtedly be exacerbated by relying on AI and outsourcing thinking to it. So we absolutely need to be very careful that we do not contribute to additional cognitive decline. Next. The other thing about AI, like I said before, is it's just an amalgamation of all the data that currently exists right now. It amplifies or perpetuates hidden biases or overt biases. So if we live in a society that is racist, misogynistic, not willing to listen to minority voices, that is what it will spit out at us. And so it really can contribute to having a monoculture and potentially can perpetuate white supremacy. And so we have to be very careful about how we are absorbing this information. Because of things like the way that Google search has changed, it can absolutely limit our access to less well-known or academic research and reduce our choices for where we get our information and what information we absorb and use when determining how we feel about something, how we want to vote. So that is another thing that with children who don't have that kind of discernment yet, this can be really dangerous. And finally, with AI, the big thing that we're all worried about probably as parents in this room and people that care for littles is their safety. So there is their social and emotional safety. The thing that I worry about quite a bit, and I'm sure a lot of you are seeing it right now in the summer, is the withdrawal, the lack of one-on-one time with friends. It's the first week of summer. How many of your kids have played outside with their friends this week? Raise your hand. Amazing. You guys might be in the minority because you're primed for this. But that is, that is not something we're seeing across the board with students, especially students who have less access, less safe neighborhoods. And so they further are isolated in this environment where they can make a friend online with an AI agent. It also dulls their interpersonal skills of how to make friends, how to disagree effectively, how to have any kind of tension that starts to build their resilience muscle. That is something that we want to make sure that we're preparing children for the future, not only with skills, but also with their emotional abilities, their social emotional abilities. With those kind of companion applications, there's also this danger of having parasocial relationships with them where they are talking into a machine and it is extremely affirmative. So a lot of those chatbots are written to say, oh, what a great idea. I agree with everything you're doing. Like, keep going. Which sounds great until they're talking about harming themselves or harming someone else. It might tell them how to do it. There are cases of, obviously, we've seen probably the articles about people committing suicide from instructions that they got from ChatGPT. That's obviously an extreme case, but it is something that we need to be aware of and monitoring kids to make sure that they aren't sharing all of their feelings with an AI chatbot and not with any of their trusted adults. And then in terms of privacy, a lot of our kids' data is being shared with large language models. So that is basically the cloud data equivalent of everything that exists about you on the internet, data about you is being used to train their AI models without you being compensated and a lot of times without you knowing. It's usually in like the terms and conditions, but for students in schools, they didn't read them and neither did you. And so your children's data, their likeness, their voice could be on a cloud server somewhere, and a software company could be using it to market their product or for other nefarious things. There is also this huge concern with this term called nudification. There was a suit against Elon Musk earlier this year. 3 teenage girls found out that their images had been used to create what is now called CSAM, used to be called child pornography. The new term is child sexual abuse material. And these girls were notified that their pictures had been basically put on bodies and what have you. So they sued Elon Musk, and I believe the suit is in progress. Do you remember? Yeah, it's in progress right now. But it's essentially, they were digitally, assaulted, and so that was done without their knowledge. They were notified by a friend, and now their pictures are out there. They don't know where they're at. They don't know who's seen them, and so it really leaves them very vulnerable in the environment out there. So with the ability to do something like that, it can also be used to bully students, fellow students or teachers. And so having a device and an application like this that could be used for something that is so harmful, I think really begs us to be very careful about the applications that our children are using, but also how they're using them. That image is a deep fake that came out right after Colbert's show. It looks very real, but it was a video. This is not just some fringe software. This was like probably Adobe, but it can also be done with Grok, which is free through Twitter. So this is probably the scariest slide. Sorry I had to scare you, but this is really information that I want you all to know. So our next slide is gonna be about what can we do? Can we go back to that one? So the question is, if AI is inevitable, which I don't believe it totally is, what do we do? I don't think it's inevitable in the current iteration. I know it's going to be changing rapidly. I think it's gonna be very different by the end of the year. And I think if we're all educated on how it is used and how it is being used, we can arm ourselves to ensure that it is not being used to harm, and we can push for people to use it much more responsibly. So, at home, some things that we can do is you can encourage in-person connection. I think that's the biggest way to combat a lot of this social isolation that kids are having. We're going to talk a little bit about summer screen tips later on, and the other is monitoring what applications are on your kids' devices, their iPads, their Chromebooks, their Apple Watches. All of those things, they have settings that you can turn off that are specifically to protect children, but also there's AI settings that you can turn off that are not necessary or can contribute to some of the things we've talked about. The other one is asking your kids about what they know about AI and how they're using it. This is a really important thing where we don't want them to feel shame about using it, because I know I just probably scared a lot of you, so I don't want you to go home and be like, don't use AI. That is not what we're talking about. What we want you to do is to be inquisitive. Talk to them about what do they know, how are they using it, how are their friends using it, and listen. And then kind of go from there and talk to them about how this is a very powerful tool, but at the end of the day, they're the ones that are in control of how it's being used, and how they can use it to learn, and how they can use it to help them to achieve whatever they're trying to do, and not to harm them. The other one is removing always-on devices from their bedrooms. I don't know about you, but I have like an Alexa in every room in my house. Fortunately, it doesn't record video, but there is no reason to have it in a kid's bedroom because it is always listening. So that is something that we should try and remove. A lot of folks, when Google started putting out some of their AI tools, not this most recent one where we're saying I hate these AI search results, how do I get rid of them? This is a super easy way. So when you put in your search in the browser, just do a space -AI and it should limit that. And then the last one is a newer one, and it's using a child-proof AI. So there are certain applications that are specifically targeted towards children that are really restrictive with it. That is kind of a generative AI, but there's also settings in the existing ones that you can use to turn them off for kids. That I have to do a little bit more research on, and we can definitely get that to you, but that is definitely an option that you have control over. So at school, which is what a lot of us have been doing, is proposing a policy on acceptable use within classrooms. This was a big thing that I was pushing for with being on the school board. It's still something I'm very passionate about, and it's still something that we can do. I know the IT staff at the district is working on an AI policy, but that's from a technology perspective and not necessarily from a policy or a procedural perspective. So I think that we need to take a pause and really examine what is the most effective way to ensure safety, but also what's going to have the most educational benefit to the kids. We also need to have very age-appropriate applications. We don't want kids younger than middle school using AI, especially unaccompanied. There aren't a ton of use cases for kids under that age to use it. I know they probably want to use it to draw or what have you, but there are better ways to do that in school, and so that's something that we would absolutely propose to have. We want to train teachers on how to use AI. They are using it probably in a certain way, but there are absolutely some nice use cases that they could talk to their students about. I know as parents and as people that work out in the world as a tech professional, we're all concerned with, are they gonna have the skills to work in the industry and work in this new working environment? It's going to change so quickly, so rapidly. I think training them on the specific technology is probably not going to benefit them in the ways that we think it's going to benefit them and outweigh some of the dangers. I think it's much more important to talk with them about how they're using AI and their relationship with AI rather than how to use a particular tool. And that goes to that drivers versus passengers conversation. Ensuring that kids have some times where they're having friction. This teacher that I was reading about called it productive struggle. I think about it in terms of, if you want to get fit, you're lifting weights. Of course, you could move that weight from here to here with a tow truck or, or a wheelbarrow, but that's not going to build your muscles to make you stronger. So that's where we're talking about using this as a driver rather than just passively absorbing this information and scrolling and things like that. You are not just a passenger with AI. You can use it to do what you need to do. We absolutely also want to advocate for a committee to review the ed tech that exists today, but also continuously reviews the educational technology that our students are using on a very regular basis because they change so rapidly and because we're really concerned with costs. And so making sure that there's still educational benefit to the things that we have and that they are safe for our students. And then making sure that we are having those open conversations with teachers and schools about how kids are using the technology and whether it continues to benefit them. And then finally, what we can do is, there's also legislative things that we can do. So stay in contact with your local legislatures. We have worked with Renuka Mayadev. Earlier we had Senator Calderoy's here, who's running for governor. They both have put forth bills in the technology space for children, and so they're a great place to start. There are others, but those are the ones that we know of off the top of our head. There's also been a lot of legislation that's coming out very rapidly in other states that has passed. I think the first AI bill was passed like in the last month, I want to say. There's also obviously like a lot of cell phone policy and ed tech bills that are coming through that we can use as a template for what to do here in Wisconsin, especially if we have a new governor. It's a really great time to start talking to them about what they want their legacy to be in terms of ed tech and technology for the state. And then the last one is an idea we had today, is having maybe a small rapid response team from this group that can go and testify when there are new bills that are on the floor. We often do not have a lot of time when they're up for discussion, and so if there are people that have flexible schedules, it'd be great if we could send out like a phone tree to say, hey everybody, let's show up at the Capitol and let's testify about whatever this is. So that's just another idea we had. This I think will grow as we grow and we kind of identify what we want to do here as a group, but there is a lot we can do. AI is not inevitable the way that it is today, and we can control how the kids in our community are absorbing it and working with it. So
yeah, I just want to add to that.
You bet.
I have personally been bugging the school district about the phone policy for 2 years, and that they have to make a decision on Monday. So that's been taking up a lot of my personal time. But then I'm like seeing what's the AI shoved down our throats and some scary pushes for AI in schools happening right now, that I would love to like put the phone policy to bed and start really researching and solidifying what we want the approach to be for our schools. I think it should probably be no AI K through 3, maybe 5, like at all. Like let's let our kids learn how to develop their core skills and their critical thinking, and then bring AI into the picture, and maybe have, like Dana said, that the tools are going to change so much that like we hear a lot about, like, we have to teach the kids the tools because we're in a high-tech world and they're going to need these tools in the working world, but the tools are changing so fast. Like focusing on the tools, I don't think is the right approach anymore. It's more going to be like AI's out there, like let's talk about it in health class, let's talk about it in the library, about like finding good information, making sure you stay safe with these tools. So I have lots of ideas, and I'm excited to talk to more people and research it more and get more ideas about like maybe getting a good, solid, evidence-based proposal to the school board of how they should approach AI, because it seems like a lot of school districts, they're being sold a story by the tech companies, and there really needs to be like let's step back and think about who is this policy, who is this classroom benefiting big tech, or is it benefiting our kids? So we don't have it all figured out right now, but I think we all care so much about this, and I'm excited to figure it out and hopefully
together
drive this bus into a better direction.
Yes. Do we have, oh yes, so my final thought for you to ponder was on Jonathan Haidt's Substack. He wrote Anxious Generation. It's really easy to worry about what AI will take from us, jobs, essays, artwork, but the deeper risk may be in what we give away, not just outsourcing cognition, but we are teaching a generation to offload connection. There is still time for us to draw that line, and that's why we want to work with you on that. So we're so glad you're here and can't wait to talk about this more with you as we progress forward. Any questions or any comments that about anything that I brought up that you'd like to talk about?
So is there currently an AI policy in place?
There is not.
Okay, that was my assumption, but.
There is not, but Sown to Grow has an AI component. If you read that very long article. Sown to Grow, for those of you who weren't here and haven't read the Cap Times article, is the social and emotional learning application that the district bought early this year. Teachers started getting trained on it before the end of this year, and I believe it'll go into elementary schools next year. So it is half curriculum on social and emotional learning and development, which is great, we love that. But the other half is weekly surveys about how they're feeling, that they're putting into a Chromebook, and that if there are certain words or phrases that are picked up by the AI, then it's flags to somebody to talk with the kid about it. And so that's where we're really concerned, is about a child learning that if they're having tough feelings or they're struggling, that they tell it to a computer before they tell their teacher, their parent, a friend, or things like that. But also that there are people who are not trained in that kind of intervention that might have access to your children's social and emotional development. So there's also, safety and privacy issues that we want to make sure are really ironed out before that gets unleashed next year. From what I've heard, the teachers only got 1 hour of training.
I don't think it was district-wide either.
So
They're
were some
piloting it.
pilots.
Yep, sorry.
There were 9 pilot schools that
Yep.
got training, but it's going out district-wide
Next school year.
next school year. Yeah.
So I read the Cap Times article as well. Is there anything that we can do to opting out?
So
Cause that was one of the things, like when my
Yeah.
husband and I read it, we're like, what can we do that we say our kid doesn't need to tell their feeling to a computer?
I'm bugging them about that right now. I was told that to talk to your principal to opt out. I suggested that it be handled the way human growth and development is.
Right.
With human growth and development, there is a letter that goes home, from the teacher, emailed, and, we have Tuesday folders, I don't know if that's a thorough thing. But there's a process for human growth and development, a notification process, and in that notification, you can access the lessons and you can opt out. So I suggested that process, something similar, be used for Sown to Grow, and I have not heard back.
Well, it's just if I think with all of this, I worry that if we weren't informed, would this be happening?
Yeah.
And our kids
absolutely.
wouldn't even know, they would just be.
Yep.
Sure,
Yes.
100%.
And Amy and I talked to an elementary principal earlier this week who doesn't love this, but they're being given it. So, I think reaching out to your principal, you're not gonna be bugging them. It's okay to do that.
2 things really quick, the human growth and development, that's passive consent, so there's also it could be, I would wanna advocate for active consent,
Okay,
maybe,
that's
I
what
don't know
you're
if that's
talking
gonna
about.
happen, but it is, I mean, as a teacher, it's
If you
you
don't
send
hear
stuff
anything
home
back,
and it's
then
like,
nothing.
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
The
that's a really
thought
good
is that
point.
you're not going to hear, a lot of families aren't gonna.
Yeah.
Read it very closely
Yeah,
and
for
return
sure.
it and put in the effort to return it.
Yeah.
The second thing is I know, that there is a school that was talking about Sown to Grow as they were talking about it at a kindergarten, what's it called, info night or whatever, that it's and they're framing it as a safe space for kids. So I'm this one's kept me up at night.
So what I've heard is that the lessons themselves,
Sure.
that the teachers are delivering, that is quality.
Yeah.
Those lessons are quality. It's not, the whole thing, I don't think needs to be thrown out.
Right.
We're concerned about the
check-ins.
online
Yeah,
check-ins
yeah.
and tell the computer your feelings,
gross.
just feels really gross
Intrusive.
to us.
Yeah.
But I don't think that we think that the whole program is problematic. It's
No, it's
that component.
Yeah.
So if at a incoming kindergartner night, it was billed as a positive, I think in the classroom it can be a positive.
No, it was the check-in.
Oh.
Like it was, the check-in itself was like a safe space to talk.
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
think that's
not-
so gross.
that's
like,
just-
the safe
it's just like a
spaces on the
gross
computer.
misunderstanding
Yeah.
of,
Well, and it's also who's gonna have access to that, because I was just on the Sown to Grow website and it said like our staff is reviewing it, and I was like, wait a
it's probably
minute.
like school psychs and.
That was the, did you say it was the school staff?
School psych.
The school psych
Is who in the school would get alerted, but like you're saying,
Yeah, you're
the
saying
Sown
bigger.
to grow
is Sown to
staff.
Grow
Oh, yeah.
staff reviewing it, or is there AI scanning it and then is that information being stored somewhere? And yeah, no,
I also asked for confirmation, that, so, I mean, MMSD has like, you know, professionals that are reviewing data and privacy and whatever, like I'm sure they're on top of that, but like, I asked for assurance that like, if Sown to Grow is sold to another company, can we have assurances that that data is safe? And like how Dana was saying, like continuous review of like the data and privacy agreements, and I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not reading through all of that, but
But we need to trust our district is doing that and
Yeah.
is doing their due diligence.
yeah,
And
so
that-
I'm bugging them about it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think with all of the software that our schools are using, they aren't all coming up in front of the school board. And so we have to investigate whether or not it's going through a rigorous evaluation of, is this safe, is it effective, or are you just, you know, excited by the bright shiny object and whatever they promised you. That was kind of what happened with Chromebooks. Was, hey, we'll give you a bunch of these Chromebooks for a very cheap price, but it comes with all this software that we want you to use, and now that you're all reliant upon it, the price has shot up.
Yep.
So another thing that we talked about at our last meeting was getting Chromebooks out of, let's see, K to 3, is that when they start doing the testing? K to 2.
Yeah.
Just as a cost saving measure, but also just because it's not necessary for them and it's not proving to be beneficial. My friend.
Yeah, just actually following up on what you just said about not every piece of technology going before the board necessarily. A way that we might try and get some additional information that's not a huge lift is through open records requests.
Sure.
Which you can kind of like fire off and it could take them quite a while to respond. So, you kind of get every contract that has an AI component that the district has entered into, or those types of things, and then you can get those in and wait while it comes back while you're doing other things, just to create some transparency and like figure out where to.
I love that idea.
That's
That's
a great
amazing.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyone who is a lawyer and likes to read all of that text, please let us know.
Erin.
I think one of the challenges we'll have with AI is that there's, like on the pro side, it's, this personalized learning is given I haven't seen it work. I bought the Migo thing on Khan Academy and I was like, I don't even understand what's happening here. So, but I think it would behoove us to have a message about the personalized learning, like show me the data or whatever,
Yep.
because that is compelling,
Sure.
the idea that you could do that. So, just for us to kind of ponder how we want to.
Yeah, and I mean, I work in tech. I am not anti-tech at all. I am pro-responsible technology for children that is beneficial, effective, and safe. And so that's what we're all advocating for with this group, is to make sure that the technology that's being used in the schools is to their benefit and not for a software company to just sell us something. I mean, this is almost what happened with the Common Core. And the old literacy stuff, like when we moved away from phonics, that was a huge problem. We have an entire generation of kids that are lacking literacy because we bought into the Common Core and the previous type of literacy that was not beneficial, was not effective. And so we have to be vigilant, and hold our school and our academic community accountable for making sure that these things are going to be helpful for children.
Yeah, I guess to kind of add on to that, I kind of feel like with AI, especially like erring on the side of extremely stringent policy, because even like very recently the superintendent was at our elementary school, and I asked like if we've evaluated the efficacy of some of the like, you know, tools we started using with COVID, now that more studies have come out, and the answer was pretty much no.
Right.
You know, we haven't kind of reevaluated, are the Chromebooks working, or is all this like, kind of curriculum working?
And let's let the adults be the guinea pigs instead of our children.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
none
Yes.
of this, we won't have any research about any of this. Like, there's
Right.
not gonna be any research, so we just have to, like,
Yeah.
Yeah, if
Let's
we
wait.
don't know the long-term
Yeah.
effects of new stuff, it should not be used on our
But
children.
it's also like you said, AI, I also read every article and book I can, but it's changing so fast. I mean, even the last month,
Yep.
you know, just like, kind of exponential changes. And so if like, we don't have kind of a commitment to reevaluate, like
Right.
at a pretty frequent, cadence, then I think that will quickly kind of make policies be out of date, or decisions be out of date.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it also becomes a financial issue as well. I mean, we're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in software subscriptions, and we don't know if they're actually doing what we wanted them to do. And so that's why we need to have regular evaluation of them to see if these are actually doing what we wanted them to do. Particularly with Chromebooks, we do have 6 years of data. So that is something that we know is not working for young children at this point. And there should be specific use cases in the classroom for when they're using it with the older kids. It shouldn't just be they have them out at all times doing whatever. Yes, my friend.
I was gonna say, my biggest concern, and I had emailed Amy about this, was that as a parent, I have absolutely no idea what my children are doing on their Chromebooks during the school day. And that is a feature that Securely offers, and MMSD has blocked it. I called Securely myself. I've been working on this thing for like a year, this particular issue. I know for a fact that my kids are watching YouTube at school.
Right.
I know they are, but I can't see it. And the tech people tell me to talk to the teacher, but if the teacher hasn't started a Securely session, the teacher has no idea what the kids are doing. And then they said, talk to the administrator. My administrator looked it up too, and she can't even see how often the kids in a particular class are even on the Chromebook. So no one's, only Securely is monitoring these kids.
What do you mean?
I thought.
So parents can only see your kids' activity when they are not on MMSD Wi-Fi. If your child is on MMSD Wi-Fi, you cannot see what they have done.
Then that's different.
Because
That's
that's how
changed.
No, it hasn't changed, it has never
That's how
changed.
it's been done.
It's just that no one has noticed.
It
When they
used to
send you
be,
those- when
it
they
used
send
to
you
be
those
that you could
updates.
see it.
Yeah, you used to get a.
But you
I know
can't, they
but the
changed it.
But the reports are
That's
just
what I
about
know.
what they've done at
Reports are-
home.
You used to be able to see what
No.
they did during the day, and
Yeah,
now
I
you
used to get
can't.
a report for my,
Have you ever clicked on it?
yes. They used to show screenshots.
The reports are only from what they've done at
Yeah,
home.
no, they've changed, you're right, you're correct, you got, yeah.
We have neighbors that have recognized the same thing.
I get an email like once a week and you try to get in, I download the app,
Yeah,
I
it's
thought it was a
different than it
glitch.
used to be.
I did the check and my kid doesn't bring her device home and it says nothing.
It's
on it.
nothing.
I know
It's-
she's
they
using
visited
it at
nothing.
school.
It's nothing
Yeah.
ever.
Boy.
And like parents of middle school kids that I've talked to are like, no, I can see, and then they just haven't looked at the timestamps.
Yeah, it's only at home.
It's only at home. If it's MMSD Wi-Fi, you cannot see it.
That is
Amy and I
more-
might have good news that the last one of the year, right? Like the last Securely email home of the year, we both have elementary kids who don't take their Chromebooks home, and we were clicking all year and it was empty and it was empty and it was empty. And then
There was data.
all of a sudden,
One time.
at the end of May, she clicked it and she was like, there's something there, and so I clicked mine, and so maybe they changed it, maybe you got through.
I don't know, I called Securely myself because I thought my app was broken. And they said that they offered the feature, but Madison, MMSD has disabled it intentionally. And then I met with Eric Benedict, several times, and he said, yes, a panel of administration made the decision to block parents from seeing, from seeing their kids. I've emailed the Board of Ed like a bunch of times. I've met with Eric Benedict at least 3 times. I've met with my principal. I can't even believe that it is happening, that I cannot see. And no one can show me. No one in school can show me what my kid is doing on their Chromebook.
So that's something we can all
Yeah, I was
show
like,
up to.
how many people do we have in
And
this
by the
room?
way, it doesn't
We
even
can
have
all
be
come
on
to the school board
agenda.
meeting on
You
Monday.
just go to
Yeah.
a board meeting and make them listen to you talk.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you all are talking about? I have a kid.
Oh, with Securely.
He has
Sure.
a Chromebook, but I've not gotten any email, and not all year we didn't get any
So
email.
Securely is like the data,
Notification.
Yeah,
it's
It's
the
the
data
name.
reporting,
okay.
whatever.
And
platform
any
that
kid
they
who's
use.
used a Chromebook in MMSD logs
Should.
into the system?
No.
So I was told
Absolutely.
that, this teacher has to start a Securely
Yeah.
session. And then it will generate a report of what your kid's doing on
And
the
you can,
Chromebook
can
during
I
the
speak
school
about
day.
it a little bit?
Yeah, yeah.
You can see it in real time, so like,
Okay.
so I'm a 2nd grade teacher, I've not had Chromebooks in my classroom for 2 years. But when I did, and I would start a session, and then you see like a grid, basically, and it shows like
All
the
the kids.
screenshot, you know, of what everybody's doing. So, I mean, an ideal situation would be that everybody is trained in Securely, or that it's, like one year I had my instructional coach make it so kids could only do Lexia. And so, like, the minute somebody goes off of what they're doing, I would just shut them down. They would like lose their Chromebook for 2 days. But like, that's how it should, that's ideal, I think.
And different
and
schools and
well,
classrooms are
and-
trained in
Yeah.
using
Yeah,
it.
it's honestly just how compelled you are. But it did used to send you, I used to get an email that was like what my daughter like searched, what she looked, and you could click on it and it would pull up a screenshot and it would list like all of her searches. So,
And you get that still, there's like an app, so you have to like sign up for it, but
or maybe you don't have to
sign up for that
It was
much.
like from
So you've
or
never,
something,
how old
I
are
don't
your
know.
kids?
He just finished kindergarten.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
so it might not be.
Maybe not until
I
first
think
grade.
the thing that you're talking about.
He's
I think
definitely
that's
using
new,
a
'cause
Chromebook.
I used to get for years, I would
It
get
didn't
it.
sound, I only just tried to look at it in the middle of the year last year, so,
Yeah,
and so I don't know what it was before that, except that in my conversation with Eric Benedict, it sounded like it had always been that way.
No, you used to be
He's
able
the head
to
of
decide.
IT.
Honestly,
100% used
And
to.
you
I-
could
no,
be,
TJ,
you
I've
could
been
see
on
what they
Dr.
did all day
Gray all the
long,
time.
and, cause that was, my son never brought it home before, and I had a report.
So it
And
sounds
so then I
like,
started checking this year, and it doesn't have anything,
Same.
and I know
Last year
he's
for
just
sure it didn't
gaming
either.
all day and YouTubing all day, and there's no, so it doesn't look, it's not a good look.
no, it sounds like Securely is something we should definitely
Yeah,
look
for
into as a
sure.
group. And start pushing,
Yeah,
we've
Eric
got all summer.
Eric
to
Benedict is,
come up with that. Yeah, he's great,
he's great.
He is great.
He hears us.
yes.
And the last time we met with him, he said that, that they're working with Securely and ClassLink to improve their reporting process. But yeah, we should we're listening and
Yeah.
what we as a group decide, I think what we need to do to be organized is okay, we're gonna decide, I think I think the September board meeting, we should address the budget, cause they're gonna pass the budget, and I wanna say, don't waste money on technology that's not good for our kids. But maybe then, in October, we talk about Securely, and we all show up in our shirts, and just, speaker after speaker talks about how we need this change. challenge.
That's what MTI did this last year. Every month it
I'm
was a
basically
different
just
school.
copying what the teachers
Yeah. Yeah. So-
In high school, the social media sites aren't even blocked in high school. So like your kid could have a social media account that you would have no idea about.
Is it on the public Wi-Fi or the MMSD Wi-Fi?
On the MMSC Wi-Fi, the social media sites are open. Eric Benedict confirmed it for me.
So I think that's one of the interesting things is in Dane County, there are school districts that a lot of websites are blocked based off of once the website is live long enough, the system can classify what that website is used for, and then the school districts will automatically block certain websites. Verona, for example, will automatically block websites that have not been live long enough to be classified. But Madison, it's my understanding that they don't do that.
That's right.
That
I used to
any-
work in Verona, now I work in Madison.
Yeah, that any website that is brand new and therefore has not existed long enough for the system to auto-classify it is allowed by default for students to use. So it's kind of at the intersection of like the new technology being deployed to students that like are unclear about the use and the terms and conditions, and the securely where we don't know.
So from a technology background, when we're setting up a new like network and you want to set up a firewall, you set it up with being extremely restrictive, and then you go and poke holes. It feels very much like they let it be wide open and they're adding things.
Yeah.
And so that's where we can start having those conversations with administrators about, hey, let's lock it down and then start poking holes. I mean, if we have to start over, maybe that's what we have to do, but like, we cannot have kids having unfettered access to every single website all day and them not learning. I mean,
That's what's happening.
yeah, I mean, we're having so much issue with math and literacy scores. Like, let's give them the best possible chance to achieve, and by doing things like that to make sure that they're protected and their time is protected.
Hi, I'm Ella. I have a 2.5-year-old, so I am very lucky to be not in the thick of all of this. But it will be soon enough, and whatever this group accomplishes, he will certainly benefit from. I did, while I was doing other housework, listen to the 3-hour-long board meeting about the cell phone policy, and I guess I was like shocked but not surprised by the kind of willingness to accede to cell phone and technology by the board, despite kind of repeated frustration among teachers, parents, and even students. And so while I'm not like a direct current public school constituent, but will be soon, like I heard you speak. I think it was you, right?
Yes.
It was both like powerful and contrary to what a lot of the other tone of the meeting, and so I do not think it is a waste of time at all to make our voices heard in that forum, because I'm new to Madison, I don't know the politics, but both of the incumbents were reelected, and there was still a kind of passiveness around technology from my perspective.
Yes, great segue. I didn't listen to it. Was like they're just basically like.
Oh, we're gonna give an update.
Yeah, we're gonna.
It's coming.
Should we skip over this?
We'll come back.
No? Okay.
Okay.
No, it's not.
I mean, we can, well, you.
Okay, well, I was gonna go right into the phone policy, okay.
Hi, I'm Jackie, sure. I am a former high school English teacher, current middle school librarian, and parent of 2 elementary kids. So my parenting experience is like at the lowest level. I'm not an expert parent by any means, and actually feel really torn about like telling you how to parent your children, but I do have experience with all ages of kids who have screen time, who might have devices or would have some screen time. I've also like spent a lot of time looking at what various pediatricians throughout the country have to say. So This is not me telling you what to do, but I don't wanna come across as like parent this way. Not doing that, but I've done a fair amount of research. So, it is summer, and my kids will eventually be going to camps, but right now they maybe had more access to screens than during the school year, and maybe your children are going through that as well. So Amy thought that we should talk a little bit about just some summer screen time reminders. And so first of all, just like you're here and you care about this, so you are probably very aware, but excessive screen time impacts so much. It can impact sleep, mood, attention, self-esteem, like all the things that you want your kids to have a lot of, screen time takes away from it. So, I'm not anti-screen time, my kids get screen time every day, but excessive screen time is a problem. And so, during the summer, creating a family plan, like sitting down and talking with your kids about when screen time is appropriate, which devices are appropriate to be used, what kind of content is acceptable. Sometimes having that explicit conversation with kids like goes surprisingly well. Middle school librarian here, I dread talking to the teenagers about what they're doing on their phones, but when I have the one-on-one conversations, they're actually surprisingly, I don't know why I still dread it because it doesn't usually go poorly. So just sitting down and talking and setting some expectations is tip number one. And then having a screen time routine can also be important. So like you can have screen time today, but it has to be after breakfast, or it has to be after you've gone outside, or after you've done some reading, or no screens until after dinner. But having screen time tied to some expectations or a specific time of day can be really helpful for predictability with kids. And then one tip that really resonated with me was quality of screen time. When there is screen time, so active screen time not all screen time is bad. My third grader, going to be fourth grader, loves playing Mario Kart with his friends. They have a great time. They don't do it for like hours on end. That is active and like engaged screen time versus like being on social media and endless scrolling is not active screen time. There's learning apps, there's creative apps, actively coding, some educational videos, unlike the Marble Run videos that my third grader really loves. So there's different quality of screen time. A family movie night is great, right? Whereas playing Candy Crush, not as great, maybe. So just like being judicious about what kind of screen time is happening and when it's happening. And then, continuing on this, I think when Renuka Maidev put on that forum, a pediatrician talked to us and recommended this first thing, like talk to your kids, look at their phones and see what social media they're on. And I was like, what? No. I don't know, that didn't resonate with me, but the more I've thought about it and the more I've looked at it, actually, again, connecting with your kid and knowing what they're interested in can help open a conversation, because cyberbullying happens, and it happens to girls and it happens to boys, and we've all, maybe not, but most of us have heard about social media's negative impact on girls' self-esteem. But then I have two boys, and what's really scaring me is it's becoming not uncommon for boys to get targeted. Like a pretty girl contacts them on Snapchat and chats him up and maybe sends him a very revealing picture and is like, I sent mine, you send yours. And now it's actually a 30-year-old man who has like entrapped this boy, and he doesn't want, the man's like, send me $500 or I'm gonna tell everybody or show everybody, and the boy feels trapped. And I've read multiple articles about that, and I can see it happening to my kids, but not if we have an open line of communication. And so really talking to your kids, not too early, but like once this starts being on the radar about, you know, if something ever happens, if you ever feel uncomfortable, you can talk to me. And that comes up maybe more during summer than other times of year, but of course, all times of year. No screens in bedrooms is like a universal just expectation. Having a screen in the bedroom leads to poor sleep, anxiety, nighttime scrolling, secret messaging. So all of those things, just get the screens out of the bedrooms. Obviously, providing alternatives to screen time, knowing what your kid would be interested in and giving that as an option rather than just having screens always available. And then parental controls, there are so many devices to figure out, but when we email out the slide deck, I found this website that's like, does your kid have this? Here's the parental controls. Does your kid have that? There's the parental controls. But like on iPads, you can of course set the screen time and limit screen time, but you can also turn off specific apps or set limits to how much time they can spend on a specific app. So,
and can I just add to that really quickly, that some of you probably know this, but I was just telling some friends of mine this, and they were like, no. They can like get to the internet through like any app. Like that you're like, oh, you've been spending a lot of time on Culver's app today. I'm not kidding. Like it is, I know it sounds, but like my daughter, my website thing. I have no idea how they do it, okay? I have no idea. But like 2 years ago, we like took away character AI from my daughter because like she started using it. We were like, what is this? Oh my gosh. And so we took that away, and then somehow she was still getting to it through like learning Greek language, you know, like, I mean, it's crazy. So just, I mean,
ingenuity.
Yeah. There's.
That's why they don't need to be taught the tools.
I know.
Right?
I mean, and that's why, like, no, you know, none of this is necessary. Like, they don't need any iPads or phones until high school, no social media until at least 16, I know.
Yeah, so my kids have access to screens. Our household policy is a certain amount of screen time per day, and I just want to give you all permission, like, it's okay if screens are in your kid's life, and it's also okay to revise your screen time policy. My 7-year-old is going to get a revised screen time policy tomorrow morning, actually, because I'm like very comfortable with my family's screen time policy, but it's summer and so our routine has changed, and so today he had 20 minutes of screen time left, and he was like, oh, I'm gonna do it now, but he only had a certain amount of time to like hang out with friends, and I was like, ooh, I don't actually love that we're choosing screen time over friends, and so we're gonna revisit it, even though we're a week into summer, like, it's okay, we're gonna reset, and hopefully it'll be okay.
And that can be a conversation too. The unpopular opinion, but I think shame is
underused.
An effective parenting tool. And a lot of times, like when I see my kids choosing a screen over hanging out with friends, I'm like, that's lame. Like, really? Like, you'd rather hang out in your bedroom on a screen than go, like, cause they'll have friends come to the house and like ask to play, and my son is an indoor cat, and he'll like say no. I'm like, well, you better not be saying no to be on a screen, because like you should go play with your friend, because that's lame.
Yeah. Just like going forward as a group, and you had reached out to me about like middle school is its own gnarly beast.
Sure is.
Every age, so just like as we as a group continue to meet and things, it would be cool to have like a middle school emphasis, because we're in a totally different, you know, ecosystem as far as what should be allowed and what the risks are and everything, because all these still apply, but then the pressures are different. So I've got a middle schooler, if anybody else does and wants to chat about it.
Yeah, we've talked about doing like smaller get together, maybe more informal, with more like elementary school parents, you know, go like do their own thing. And I also just wanted to add to that, like modeling healthy technology use. Paradoxically, putting together this coalition, I am on my screens all the time, answering your messages and ignoring my children. I have to answer this email so that I can get rid of technology. It's for you! I'm doing this for you! But like the other day, like no screens at dinner, like I have tried that many times, and my husband is addicted to his phone. Don't say I'm talking about him, Scott. But you know, just trying to have screen-free time as a family. And just a little anecdote that the other day I took my kids to play pickleball at Nakoma Park, and I like went to grab everything I was taking, the pickleball stuff, and I went to grab my phone, and I was like, why? Like, do I have to answer a message in the next hour and a half? Like, no, I don't. And I didn't take my phone, and I realized that like there were times when my brain wanted to like go check it. I'm like, no, it's not here. Instead, I'm engaging, I'm present with my kids. So just putting that out there.
I mean, and it's like when you know better, you do better. Like, I think we learned from the pandemic. We didn't know about all of this stuff, so we don't want anybody to feel shame about where we're at right now. We're all here to learn. We're all here to try to do better for kids going forward, and we're gonna know better and then do better.
And I told them earlier, I have kids like 20, 17, 14, and 9. And so I have like the 20-year-old that I'm like, oh my gosh, like, it's over. Like, we I don't know, like, we cannot get through to him. And then the 17-year-old that I'm like, okay, we still have a chance. And then the 14 and 9-year-old, I'm like, sorry guys, like, this new rules, you know, when you know better, you do better. So, and I think that, as you're saying, like, it is a social thing too, like, you feel pressure, so getting the word out and saying like, hey, we all need to be doing this. So especially with elementary school kids, like talking to their friends.
Yeah.
So we've got like 30 minutes left, and there will be like a siren almost that goes off. So we'll have to get out of here quick.
Yes, we misbehaved. We overstayed our welcome at the last meeting, so we're
Everybody's
gonna try
very
to
excited.
be good this time. So talking about all the Chromebook chaos, we're trying to create awareness that we do in MMSD have a Chromebook opt-out option. Lots of parents across the country are fighting their school districts for this option, so that this is great that we have this already with MMSD. Apparently the opt-out went away during COVID, and then they just never brought it back until last school year. I didn't even know about it, but Eric Benedict brought it back last school year. I haven't done it yet, but it's my understanding that so there's like all the legalese that you sign about to have your kid assigned a Chromebook, so you can just not check that, and then that is like opting your kid out of a Chromebook. But then they will not get assigned a Chromebook. They'll have no user account, but they will be given a device for testing. So that is an option at registration. I don't know about this, in the partial opt-out, so you can also opt out of YouTube, basically is the big one. I think like a lot of parents would be interested in that. Just, Eric did say that the district is thinking about blocking YouTube, but they are, but everything is a process, and they gotta talk to every stakeholder, and they're making sure that YouTube is not used in curriculum.
We need to give them alternatives, we can't just cut them off.
A teacher in my kid's class is using it for ASMR, like what value does that provide to kids? I don't understand.
Well, also,
We're not in
a teacher
classrooms
wants to
with
use
teachers.
YouTube,
I don't
that's
like
different than a kid being able to use YouTube.
We are.
It's okay to get
I was wondering if there's
Every
any
time I go in and
more
talk to you,
information
like,
available on like how many.
They can find another way around.
That's
We're
a
both
great
teachers,
question.
they can
Because
find it.
What was the great question?
My question is, I wonder if there's any information about how many parents have opted out, because I feel like your kid not having access to a Chromebook is a pretty visible thing.
And I would be a lot more likely to go that route if I knew that like in a class of 20 kids, there were gonna be 3 kids who didn't have Chromebooks instead of 1 kid, so I'm kind of curious about that.
Do you know I actually talked to your benefit about this last week. I wanted to opt my child out of a Chromebook, and I wanted to just provide him with a Chromebook that he could use, that I could monitor, and that was not allowed. And there are 0, I can tell you that there were 0 fifth graders at my school that opted out of a Chromebook. And even I'm also a teacher at my kid's school, even in the welcome week, a lot of the kids that had opted out were, like our librarian printed out a list, and a lot of the ones that had there was like 7 or 13, I can't remember exactly, but a lot of them were from Spanish speaking families, and she actually had the BRT contact them, and then they basically all just like
they mistakenly.
It was just like a mistake. Yeah, there were like 2 first graders that opted out of the partial opt out, and I mean, I don't know how that went, but it's just first grade, so.
So when I found out about this, my vision was to spread the word about this and then to show them by having this massive opt out that, you know, we're taking a stand. We met with some teachers and a principal, and to talk about like, because a lot of there's a concern of like, is this going to be more work for the teacher? Is this on the next slide, Jackie? Yep. So they've recommended discussing it with your child's teacher at the Ready Set Go conference. For if anybody is new to the district, this is your first conference with your kid's new teacher. I think sometimes, does it happen before this school year?
Yeah.
It's
like the first month of school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would say if you are hardcore, like I do not like the way the screen affects my child, you can opt out completely during registration. You have that option. If you are on the fence and you want to talk to the teacher, like how's the Chromebook actually being used? You might have an amazing teacher like Julie, who's like not even using it, and then you don't have to like go through the trouble of doing that. So I just want everybody to know that you have options. On the sign-in sheet, there's a question if you would be interested in being a school lead. I think it would be great to have kind of a parent check on tech representative at as many schools as possible to spread the word that this is an option and to answer questions that anyone has, and maybe meet with the principal to say like, hey, this is coming. You know, like prepare teachers for like this. You know, they might be encountering kids that don't have Chromebooks in their classes, and then to like report back to, like we have a friend that opted her child out like mid-year, and then found out that the teacher was just saying, oh, look at your classmate's Chromebook to do whatever. So yeah, to have that like follow up too. So if you're interested in kind of being a school liaison, please let us know. And then we could also maybe get some numbers too, like, hey, how great would it be if like half a class was opted out? Or if they have a lead time on this, could there be a class an entire class of the kids that are opted out, and that's like a screen-free class? What were you gonna say, Julie?
Well, one thing that is like kind of interesting to me is on your chart of like screen time use, it looks like the district recommends 0 screen time for K1.
Yep.
So I wonder too if the opt-out could be targeted to K1 families with the thought that like
they truly don't need
it, and I don't know, I think it's pretty compelling, and I think a lot of early childhood teachers are always the ones that miss recess, miss having pretend play, right? Mm-hmm. So they're like primed to partner in that way. I think
it's a good way to start too, because then you can add on the grade. You know, like it's a good.
So maybe like 4 years down the road,
elementary's
like
done.
there's just they're
And
not.
kids that age, it's an easy buy-in too.
Totally.
Like, they'll totally be like, oh, yeah, okay.
They don't even know the difference.
I live on the east side, and I keep a pretty good communication of a lot of east side parent-teacher groups, which would be a great, way to just sort of get a larger, MMSD organization that I'd be really happy to share. They're all sort of proven to be, active parents in their schools. And then the second thing that I wanted to ask for the teachers in the room, are the Chromebooks and the teachers' computers on the same internet? Right, like.
Yeah, MMSD wireless.
Yep, okay. Just curious, right, like that would be a really easy split.
Yeah, I
YouTube
had that
and
idea to talk with Eric about,
YouTube.
there should be 2 separate networks.
That's like the easiest.
So easy.
And short update with the K through 1 thing. So I unearthed this district report that was recommended screen time and actual screen time. And the recommended, like Julie said, the recommended screen time for kindergarten and first grade is 0. And so I'm like, so why are we wasting money buying Chromebooks for these kids? So the district recognizes that and again is in the process of perhaps not doing 1-to-1 Chromebooks for K through all the way to 2, which is exciting. But it's not gonna happen next school year. But maybe in 2 years, there won't even be 1-to-1 devices for K through 2.
This information is coming fast as far as how bad it is for kids, so it's coming faster ever since the book.
Yeah.
And one thing that came out of, Amy and I just met with these teachers, and my experience with my kid's classroom had me like, no Chromebook for my kid again. But other parents in the same school did not have that exact experience this year, so. And so talking to the teachers from the other school, they were like, well, that's not how we use them in our school, and that's not how I do it in my classroom. And so that's where we had the idea of like the Ready, Set, Go being a good time to talk to the teacher. And I can tell you, my kid's 3rd grade teacher this year, if I had said, so how are you gonna use a Chromebook during literacy? At the beginning of the school year, she would have been like, I'll tell you when I get there. And that wouldn't have been a good answer for me, but there are other teachers in the school who would have had an absolute answer. And so just getting a feel. And then the other thing that occurred to us was like, if there's 5 parents coming to Ready, Set, Go being like, so what's happening? Then the teacher might be like,
I might have to have a
maybe I'll reevaluate what I'm doing. It was kind of the thought, like if you're not sure you're ready to opt out, having a conversation might be the way to go.
Do you want to talk about your question list?
I'm in the process, I made a question list for elementary, like Ready, Set, Go conferences that like, if you don't know what to ask or you don't know what to listen for, it's an idea bank. I intend to make one also for middle school and middle school parents. If you want to like tell us what's happening, I will happily draft that, or I can put it together and have some middle school parents look at it and add to it or something like that. But like, it's used differently at the different grade levels. So we're hoping to have a document ready to go for multiple grade levels. Yeah.
I know there's like nationwide organizations in this space that are growing right now, and I'm just curious like what your guys' thoughts are on like if they're aligned and if there's like benefits to collaborating.
Yeah, so I just added us to the Schools Beyond Screens, like network, like you can look up organizations. I haven't looked to see if like it's live on the site. We talked about, like when we talked about starting this, we're like, well, it'd be really easy just to be a chapter of like something that's already going on. But like there's Schools Beyond Screens that's focused on ed tech. There's Distraction-Free Schools that's focused on phones. So we kind of wanted to make this more broad and then also be flexible to focus maybe even on like school board election, literacy. So that's
tackle what the thing.
So that's why we made that choice. But I've been on the, by the way, Schools Beyond
screens and distraction-free phones have a Wednesday, a weekly Zoom, they call it Community of Practice, nationwide Zooms at 11 a.m. on Wednesdays. They're now switching off every other one with either ed tech or phones, and it's incredible. Like, it is like so helpful, and like just like these amazing, smart, motivated people that are like making change across the country. They do like a national update in the beginning of the call, like here's the latest legislation in this state and that state. And so I haven't like read all of their like proposed stuff, so I can't say like I'm 100% aligned, but like I think that all those groups are incredible. And like we will like borrow their model legislation and like use those resources to like work off of. But yeah, I don't know, like one-to-one.
I don't know,
We're
I'm
on
just
the same
curious
page
with
with
everything.
everything.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just since we don't have very much time left, and I am personally not able to go to the board meeting
Yeah.
on Monday.
That's
what
next.
can we do?
Promise, we're there. We're there.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So here we are. The fourth draft of the cell phone policy was read Monday.
Yep.
Just this past Monday. The only thing that changed was they introduced a behavior matrix that is just, it's like not punitive, it's restorative, and so they left the same away all day, K through 8, instructional time only 9 through 12. That's what the fourth draft said. But in a curve that nobody saw coming, dun dun dun, next slide. There appear to be 4 board members, which is the number that we would need in favor of high school away all day except for lunch. There appear to be. That is not, nobody's signing their name to that, but at the end of the board meetings, one of the members called out, like, I think there's 4 of us all saying the same thing. And then 2 of that, well, I don't know, they're iffy. 1.5 of them believe that away all day is too hard to enact at this time. And so if we could somehow give a message that like, no, actually we can do it, or maybe we don't need to do it on day 1 of the school year, but you need to write this very strong policy and give schools a little grace period. I bet we could make it by second semester. Something like that. So there's that, and then there is one person who is not in favor of away all day under any circumstances. Don't bother talking to that person about this because it's not going to change. Nikki Vandermeulen wants nothing to do with this.
Oh, the special ed.
Yes.
You there.
Yes.
Gosh,
yes.
I wouldn't have thought that.
And she actually, like, I'm actually going to recommend that nobody reach out to her about it because she feels like that emails have been abusive. Yeah, she feels that emails towards her have been abusive. So just like accept her stance. And we have 6 people who we can communicate with. So there's the fourth draft policy didn't change anything, and so I looked into what if 4 people vote no to this policy, because they have to vote on Monday, and if they vote no to that policy, they will have to have a special meeting where they would pass a different policy, or they can amend the current policy on the floor and vote on the amended policy, which is what I think they plan to do. Is like, if there's really at least 4 people strongly opposed to, or who want high school away all day except for lunch, if there's 4 people who stand up for that, they can amend the policy to say that. And so
it'll be a very exciting meeting on Monday night.
Amy is going to tell you what you can do to make that happen.
So I've started attending school board meetings just this school year, and I think they're very entertaining. I really can't even attend. Right? On Monday nights, it starts at 6, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll take written statements. That's like the easiest thing to do. There's a portal to submit them online. The portal opens tomorrow at noon, and it's open until 3 p.m. on Monday. I like to send out action alerts with the link to the portal, and then I'll do like a sample statement if you just want to copy it and paste it. I am going to the Cubs game tomorrow, so I don't know if you will see that in your inbox, because I wanna wait and,
Until it's
or
actually
you
open,
wait.
yeah.
Well, till it's open, and then, the agenda will attach the latest draft, so there could be a curveball in there, so I don't wanna like prepare like everybody
This is
say
very
this, and
exciting
it
stuff.
doesn't apply to like what the actual.
And what's the
Draft
reasoning
it?
behind, except at lunch?
That's what the teachers, so we surveyed the teachers, high school teachers, and many of them, enough of them were like, well, high schools have open campus.
Open
So
campus.
kids can leave campus, obviously,
Go
and
back
so
home.
to say you can't take your cell phone when you're driving in a car, and also teachers, I'm not gonna tell the teachers how to teach, and so if they're like, I don't want them between classes, but it's okay for them to have it at lunch, like, I'm not the one having to enforce this, so that's.
There's also lots of equity arguments,
Yeah.
the kids who have jobs, kids who have younger siblings that they're gonna pick up from school, that like there are real needs for communication, and like I think it's reasonable. I mean, I would love I think it would make sense just to have like a campus, a phone-free campus policy, so like if you stay on campus for lunch, you can't use your phone. But I'm hearing that there are reasonable reasons for kids to need to communicate halfway through the day, and then like
It's not in their learning.
Yeah.
A board member brought up that like if kids can't afford to go off campus for lunch, we're saying that they have more phone accessibility than I don't know. So we're like, okay, give them lunch. But the passing period, I think if anyone is willing to go to the meeting and speak or submit a statement, I think there's a really strong case that many school board members are listening to, that the passing periods are a problem. If it's only instructional time and the kids are having to store and retrieve their phones between every class, it is putting it in their hands between every class. It's
in their brains.
In their brains between every class. And then it is the most equitable policy, because if we're worried about bias in enforcement, there's potential for bias in enforcement then in between every single class.
It's impossible.
So there is an argument that it's just logistically too difficult, that our high schools are so big. There's students that go off campus for they take classes at UW or MITC. So like it is not going to be easy, but I do think that giving them a block of time in the morning and in the afternoon where they don't have access to their phones is doable with products like Yonder Pouches. There's a new app that it's called geofencing, that would kind of like turn the phone off while you're on campus. So like there are solutions. It's just getting administrators to recognize that and be willing to do the work to make it happen.
And something that was frustrating was at one of the work group meetings, there were two principals there who were like, oh, enforcing it in between classes would just be so hard. That's what the principal said. But the teachers at those schools, like one of the schools has a work group specifically around this with the teachers, and the teachers are like, we can do it. It like matters enough to us. We will make it happen. And the board started hearing that, and that's when the board started turning. So
the teachers said
we can enforce
want
it.
them to have it in
Away
passing time.
During passing time. No, the
Away
teachers,
during
the
passing
principal
time.
said it's too hard to have it away during passing time, and the teachers were like, we'll figure it out. Like,
please.
There are so many ways. We have smart
I was
people.
also just worried that if they have it during passing time, that a lot of the classrooms, it sounded like their option is gonna be like little phone lockers in the classroom. And so that would be like a huge capital
It's a bad-
investment in phone lockers if the policy then changes.
Yes,
exactly.
So,
It also takes a lot of time to put them in.
Yes, it eats away from instructional time. Also, the district policy could change. Also, the state law, we can all change the state law. The state law right now is
8:30 and the library will close in 30 minutes.
15 minutes. We have 15
If you need a library card or reference help, please come to the desk now. Meeting rooms and study rooms close in 15
to our next meeting next month.
The state law, Act 42, when that was passed, it's only instructional time. Immediately, the state Senate and the state Assembly introduced 2 separate bills that would make it away all day. We're trying not to say bell to bell ban because people have a negative reaction to that. But
Do the school districts have to abide by that if the state?
yes. So, those bills didn't go anywhere, not because there was a big opposition, just the legislative session ended. So I am going to work on getting those bills reintroduced, next legislative session. So if the district invests in those class storage things, next school year, they might be legally required to do bell to bell, and then that money is wasted. So they should just do it now.
So I would strongly recommend that if you guys send out an action alert, that we all share it within our social media, because I think getting more parents involved is really a key, and to share your own personal, perspective, because I think we all have, most of us, actually none of my friends here have social media, but those of us that do,
Dana's trying to get me to do a Facebook page.
I think that that's a really great way to share the message. My organization's also co-sponsoring a gubernatorial forum on July 19th. That I can send you information about. It's about early childhood, but there's time to schmooze up the candidates, so that could be an opportunity to, for more people to chat up.
I love a forum.
I think a bunch of them are gonna be at Bricks this weekend too, the candidates for governor.
At where?
Bricks in Mount Horeb. I don't think they're gonna get opportunities to reach out to, hopefully our prospective governor.
Yeah. What else was I gonna say? Oh, for Monday, I haven't figured out. I'll speak. I like to speak at every meeting. By the way, I hate public speaking, but I care so much about this that I suddenly become a public speaker. But another point that parents have brought to my attention is the safety issue with the phones during passing period, particularly the bathroom situation. There's lots of fights and taking pictures and videos without kids' consent, a lot of bullying happening in the bathroom. And if they don't have access to the phones during passing period, I really think it would help that bathroom situation. And then just to prepare everybody for hopefully having conversations with your friends and communities, you will hear the I want to contact my kid in an emergency argument. Kids are actually safer without their phones in an emergency. People are freaked out about school shootings, understandably, but we now know that first responders, officials say that the phones are not keeping the kids safe. In the event of an emergency, they actually are endangering the kids because they distract them from following the directions of their adults. They make noise, they clog communications. If they're texting, parents are rushing to the school, it's clogging traffic, first responders can't get there as fast. So yeah, just trying to spread that awareness too, because that is something the school board thinks that they're gonna hear, they think they're gonna hear from parents the other side.
Keep my kids safe, give them their phone, and so we wanna send it out.
And every classroom has a wall phone.
Yes.
And the teachers probably have a phone, so if it's a matter of I need them to be able to call 911 when the shots start, there's already a phone.
I know, it's just crazy.
And then that emergency
it's
exception
very
is in the state law, unfortunately. Then that's also something we can change.
Yep.
And Kel DeRoy's she was at our last meeting, and she had a great quote that I asked her if we could put on our website, and she said yes. And her quote was, if my kid is in a building that's on fire, I want my kid to find the nearest exit, not send me a text.
Yeah.
We done?
Yeah, all right. Thank you everybody for being here. We really appreciate it. Please make sure you sign in on one of the sheets. There's lots of sheets. And we'll see you again.
Oh, we have a date?
That's what I was.
Make sure I'm. Thank you.